Greetings and welcome back to another tutorial for Linux and Raspberry Pi, Raspbian. We're going to go over files and file directories. Now, a lot of stuff you're going over in this class applies to everything Mac, Windows. The organization on some of this is different. Some of the commands that we're going to go over are different. But overall, it's the same. On a Windows, you're going to find an icon somewhat like that. This looks like a folder that you're going to manage your files. So I'm going to go ahead and open this, pull it over here and shrink so we can see this at the same time. It'll be helpful as we start to talk about this. Now, I'm going to do a couple commands real quick. Clear gets rid of everything I had going on before, and I'm going to go ahead and show you what it would look like when you first open this. Alright, so this would be just like clicking on this, our terminal, and now we're at a nice clean terminal. And then when you open this, it takes you to the same spot. It's important to understand that when you're at the terminal, and this is one thing, ls, can list all the things in here. If you look at this, bookshop, desktop, documents, downloads. If you look at all of these, they are all of these. So in the file system, we are in this folder right here on both of our things, right? So this is the organization of where your files are, your programs are. Mostly what you're going to find in the Pi folder directory, as it's called, is your documents and everything that you have, all your files that you've saved for your computer, and your personal files. But let's go back to the root, because this is where we start. So when you go to save stuff, when you download stuff, this is where you're going to find stuff. So that's good to know when you download stuff and you save stuff to documents. This is where you want it. Anything that's on the desktop, which we don't have anything on the desktop, would be there. To go up, you click this little up arrow, and that goes up one folder. Right? We were in the desktop folder. We're actually in this folder right now. To go up to the folder above it, we click the up arrow. Now I can navigate to this as well. So CD stands for change directory, and I'm going to go into the desktop. So it is case sensitive. So I'm going to type in desk for now, and if you hit the tab button, it automatically figured it out. Now, if you only have D, there's documents, there's desktop, there's downloads. So when you tab, it tells you, hey, look, this is you need to give me more, right? So again, I just need the E there, and that's far enough to get me to desktop. And then when I do ls, nothing was there, just like when we were on desktop, nothing was there. Now to do the equivalent of the up arrow, it's CD space ... That goes up. So you can see that, remember the tilde is home pi, right? So whenever you see that, it's home pi. So home pi / desktop, that's what this is. So I'm going to go ahead and enter back, up arrow, and there goes. We can also create new folders, which we'll do later on, but for now, we're going to go ahead and just kind of show you this from root. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to double click on this very top one. You cannot go any higher than this, right? This is all of the folders, the organization, however you want to look at it. And to do that here, you can do CD /. And now if you only see a slash, that means you are at the root. Again, I can prove this by typing ls, and bin, boot, home, all of those are there for you. So you most likely won't get into a lot of these. Home is where the users are. We only have one user, it's Pi. Some of these you might, if you ever configure a web server, as we get further into some of the stuff, you'll go into some of these folders. But it's good to know what they are, because there's a lot of times like you might need to run something from Etsy, right? So I type in etc / whatever folder it's in, slash the name of the file, right? And I might run something from there by knowing its full path. So understanding how this works is important to understanding how you can call files, run files, save files, open files, all of this, like Apache 2. Now that's web browsing, right? So I can configure, I can open up config files by just typing in its location. All right, so I'm not going to actually open any of that. But again, we are in slash, so if I want to go to home, I type in slash. Now, you can always go through the whole entire thing, right? So if we were in home, right, slash, let's go home, slash pi, which is, again, I'm going to double click on home, I'm going to double click on pi, type in ls, and that's what I just did by typing in slash home slash pi. Now, if you want to use any of these, you just type in cd, the name of the file, right? If there's no slash there, I'm going to do this one. If I put a slash first and I put in desktop, first of all, that needs to be capital D, it's going to go, there's no such file. Because, again, when we go back to slash, there is no desktop file here, right? If we want to put a slash there, we have to do cd slash home slash pi, which is the name of the user, slash desktop, right? That, if you want to put a slash there, and this allows you to not necessarily be there. We could be in the Etsy folder right now, right? So I can go straight to the Etsy folder. Oops. And I'm in the Etsy folder, right? And if I type in ls, there's a ton of stuff in there. But there's no desktop, right? But if I want to change directory, I can go home slash pi slash desktop. And now I've jumped. I was in here. Let's try to open too many things for me. So what I just did was, apparently all of those were highlighted, and when I double clicked on it, it opened up all of those folders for me. So I now have every single one of the root folders opened, which I don't need nor want, but that's what I just did. So again, I was in Etsy over here. I typed in cd, and you can do the same thing. So if I copy this and I paste it over here, which this was not this, I'm going to just type it real quick, it'll be faster. If I can copy and paste slash pi slash, right, I can go there as well, right? And it is important to understand that these directories are the same either way you go. So again, this is root, file system root. Everything comes from here, even where you start, your desktop, everything. You just need to know where it is. Mostly what you're going to deal with is your home directory. So the user of pi. Now this could be anything. So if you're using Linux, this will be, or a different distro of Linux, I guess. This is Linux. It might be admin or whatever you set up the username to be. And you might have more than one, right? You might see more than one. And depending on how your system's set up, you may or may not be able to get into those other files that aren't yours, other folders. But that's the basic rundown. Windows does very similar. Their root is called the C drive normally. And then you'll have your Windows folders, your system folders, which is kind of what this has. And then you'll have your user folder, which again is, in this case, home for Linux, but it's called users in Windows. But the concept is the same. There's a root folder that has all the other folders, and then you just need to know where your files are, where you need to go to modify a file, change a config file. You can see there's tons of config files. Also, I should point out that if you see this blue, it's a directory folder. Otherwise, it's a file, right? Otherwise, it's a file. So that's the basics of files and directories. We'll go more detail, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go onto the desktop. I'm going to go ahead and create a folder, and I'm going to call this test1. And then inside that folder, you can right-click and you can create a new file. And I'm going to call this test.txt, which is just a text file. Now, remember, desktop was empty. When we way up there, we were in desktop, right? We view desktop, there was nothing on the desktop. Now, if we go up to the desktop, there is a folder there. So let's ls that. We can see test1. I'm going to clear this. ls again. So test1. Now we can change directory into it. It's doing this weird thing because there's a space. It's putting quotation mark around it, and then it's also doing these weird things because again there's a space there that lets it know that it's there, and you're not trying to open another file. So I'm in test1. I can type in ls again, and we can see that test there. Now, let's go back to desktop. Again, we have test1 there. I can make a dir by typing mkdir and then the name of what I want. So let's call it test, and again, I need that quote test2. Now over here, so just like whenever we added this, it showed up over here when I type in test2. There's test2. I just made the directory test2. So let's go ahead and open it over there, and then change directory, and we're going to do test1 or test2. So again, we mimicked what it has up here. Click enter, ls. There's nothing in it, and then I will show you more about nano later. But I'm going to type in a command called nano, and then I'm going to type in test2.txt, which is a text file, and click enter. We'll show you how to use this later. So to get out of it, hit Control, and I can just type in test here. Hit Control O. Enter, and then Control X. And now you can see, as soon as I click Control O, it saved it. And now you can see that there's a test2 in that folder. So this is how to create files, move files. If I just wanted to open the file, you just type in the name of the file. Or you need a name of a program, which is why I did the nano. You need a name of the program that you want to open it with. Otherwise it won't work. So with that, hopefully you kind of understand the basics of, and feel free to navigate around this. You can look in root, boot. You're not going to, unless you start deleting stuff, you're not going to really hurt anything when you start looking through the different files here, what's in there. Again, some of this pieces, if we go into building web pages, you actually have to go into this folder because this is where the HTML files would be saved, right? So you need to understand how to get around in this, where stuff's saved, where you can save stuff, organize your files. But in a nutshell, this is more bash commands we learned. The mkdir creates a file. And then for now, there's lots of different programs. And not every computer has Nano, but Nano is a text editor that's in the actual terminal. And then we were able to create a file there as well. So with that, that's all I have on files. Have a good one. We'll see you next tutorial.